Am I on? Oh, I am. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. AC and Starcraft. We are doing our first show on Justin TV after a long time on YouTube and a long time on Ustream, but we are switching over to Justin TV. For anyone that doesn't know, we help diagnose your problems and help you become a better Starcraft player. Okay, and I know there's a lot of channels out there like this, but I'm just trying to really promote esports, and I think it's a great thing, and I think it's the wave of the future. Okay? Now, today, for our first show, we're going to go over the Starcraft Pyramid, if anyone doesn't know what that is. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, it was originally created by Budha on Team Liquid, if anyone's seen that. Now, the thing is with his, I didn't quite agree with... I agreed with the basic structure of his, I didn't agree with the way he worded certain things. So, I've really taken my own spin on it, and I've really just sort of built around the idea of it on my own terms. Okay, so and I did ask for his permission, so I'm not just stealing out of anything. I asked for his permission. I changed it slightly, so we're just gonna go over this really fast as an intro to my channel, almost. Okay, so at stage 0, I kind of call it I put it at stage 0. It's mechanics. Okay, can you hold a keyboard? Can you use a keyboard and mouse? Can you use your hands, and can you see the screen? Do you have a screen that you can see StarCraft with? Can you hit keys and make anything? Basically, do you have a brain, and can you use the keyboard and mouse? Okay, and of course that evolves, and that's gonna be your bases. That's why it's bigger than everything else. It's gonna be your base for everything else above this. You know, your APM, it's your hand placement, it's your use of hotkeys, etc. That's about it. I mean, it's going to evolve over the course of you learning how to play. You know, maybe you'll start with hitting the buttons on the bottom right with a mouse and not so much using the keyboard, and then you're going to evolve and start to use the keyboard more, start to learn about hotkeys, start to learn about where your hands should be. And then, of course, that's all going to increase your APM. And again, APM isn't the... Everyone kind of grades skill level on APM, and APM, I have to say, is probably the least important thing. And any pro will tell you that the least important thing is APM. Okay, so we'll get on to stage 1, and that's economy. Okay, basic economy. That's what you should be learning at the bronze level. Okay, now at the basis, StarCraft is an economic game. Okay, the concept of it is just to gather as many resources as you can. Okay, constantly making workers, expanding when you need to, etc., etc. The basic concept is the more money I have, the less money that my opponent has. So the more that I could produce, and the more that I could build and spend, etc. Okay, then that brings us to stage 2. Okay, stage 2 we have production. Okay, it's basically just spending your resources, knowing how to make units and buildings and upgrades, etc. Okay, it's effectively using your resources, producing. If you're a Terran player and you have 1,000 minerals, oh, I better throw down more barracks and produce a lot of Marines or a lot of Marauders or whatever. Okay, it's just producing your units and making them as effective as possible. Okay, and of course the first 2 stages, of course, if anyone knows, those are macro. That's your macro. That's macro management. Knowing, for anyone who doesn't know what macro management is, it's basically the economic side of the game. How are you gathering resources? How are you producing things? Okay, and that, of course, builds on production and economy. Okay, so then we're going to get into stage 3. That's knowledge. And you should be knowing this about the gold level. Okay, you can get to gold just at this stage. Okay, knowledge is basically knowing basic information about the units and structures. So, like, how do I get... I'm going to get Thors. How do I get Thors? Okay, you need the factory, you need the armory. How do you get the armory? How do you get the factory? Okay, it's just knowing the tech trees. And also, I would put basic knowledge of unit counters. So, like, oh, he has a ton of Marines. How do I beat a ton of Marines as Zerg? Huh, I'm going to get Banglings. Yeah, okay. Basic unit composition, basic unit counter, etc. Okay, so then we're going to go into scouting. Okay, now scouting, the next 3 you could probably get to platinum by getting by. Okay, and you don't need, and again, I'm going to say this a lot of times throughout the video, I mean, you don't need all of these in this particular order. But it's really what you usually see happen when players progress, and usually what you see when you hit these different levels. Okay, so when you get to Platinum, you're probably going to see Scouting, Army, and Build, and they kind of all go together. Okay, now Scouting is critically important, and it really helps you with knowledge as well. So I mean, once you have the knowledge, Scouting helps you put that knowledge into action. Scouting is, what it sounds like. It's scouting your opponent. It's knowing what your opponent's doing, knowing what units he's having, knowing how well his economy's going, just knowing what he has, what resources he has, and what he's spending it on. Okay, and I mean, it's just getting some kind of information. I mean, you could only see the front of your opponent's base. If you see what buildings he has in the front, what units he has at the front. Okay, same thing. You could fly units through the back, seeing what's up. You don't necessarily have to do anything or get a full scout, but knowing something is useful. Okay. Now we're going to get to stage 5. Stage 5 is Army. Army again is a sort of a middle. No, it's like a combination of production, knowledge, and scouting. Okay, once you scout, you know what he has, and you know what you have to do to beat it, right? Because of your knowledge, right? You scouted it out, and you know how to beat their army. So then you have to produce whatever army that is in your head, right? So it's just basic unit composition. You know from your scouting what you need to produce, and then you have to produce that perfect or correct unit composition or amount to, basically knock off that army. Okay? Now build. Okay? Build order is not a strategy. Okay, a lot of people are like, "Oh, what's your build?" No, what's your strategy? No. Your build is not your strategy. Your build is your opening. It's what you start with to get into your basic strategy and plan. Right? Look at Idra. A player like Idra. He opens the same way every game. He opens 15 hatchery, or 15 spawning pool, and 14 hatchery. Okay? And then he goes from there. Is that a strategy? No. It's an opening to get him an economic advantage. Right? Okay? Now your build can extend to lead into a strategy, or lead specifically into something, but it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're stuck with, It's your build basically puts you in the best position you can until you get your scouting and you use your knowledge to be able to see how you should react. Okay? So it's just something that you're going to do every game in order to keep yourself on track and make everything sort of standard, so you know what's going on, and it sort of leads into what else you're comfortable with or whatever you're going to do. Okay? Okay, so we're going to get into control now. And with control and aggression, you're going to see these around the diamond range. Okay, so control. Okay, well, control doesn't necessarily mean micro. Okay, everyone hears control. Oh, micro. No. Okay, by control, I mean map control and just control of the overall game flow. Okay, map control is just being around the map, knowing what's going on. If you're Zerg, putting Zerglings at every mineral patch, so you know when your opponent's expanding, where your opponent's army is. That's basic map control. Okay? Having full map control not only allows you to do what you want with no fear, because you know what your opponent's doing, you know when your opponent's pushing out, you know when they're expanding, but I mean, it's just a way to sort of switch it into game flow. Now, game flow is the overall flow of how the game's progressing. Who's teching, who's expanding, who's attacking, who's getting ready to attack, right? Like, if you are a player and you are getting ready to attack, and your opponent sees it, they know, okay, I have to defend now, right? You are, as the attacker, you are using your control of the game to attack and force your will upon, I'm attacking now, you have to defend. Okay, if you are expanding, okay, if you have map control and you are expanding, you're dictating the game flow. You are expanding. Your opponent either has to expand or they have to attack you. Okay? And the reason you can expand with no fear is because you have map control. If you didn't have map control and you didn't expand, you don't know whether or not it's safe to expand. Okay, so that's where control, and by control, again, I mean map control and game flow. That's where that comes into control, or into control. No, into fruition. Okay, so we're going to have stage 8, aggression. Okay, this is probably the most sensitive stage. It has the smallest room for error once you get into like higher levels. So aggression's basically knowing when to attack, knowing when to put pressure on, and also what extent to do so. And by aggressive, I don't mean all out. Yeah, I'm gonna go kill them and do all this stuff. No, I just mean like simply moving out, or kind of feinting an attack, making them build more units, and sort of backing off, scaring your opponent, kind of just making them back up a little bit. Okay, and harass is also a form of aggression. Okay, it makes them pull back their units, makes them sort of scared, makes them know I don't know what's going on. And also being aggressive is kind of works hand in hand with control, and the fact that when you are defending, you don't really have map control. You're not using your units to see what's going on the map. You're sort of just turtling up. I don't care what's going on with the rest of the game. I just want to protect my base or my area, right? So again, aggression and control, very, very much hand in hand. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to get into sort of the Masters and Grandmasters level. Okay, so Micro, finally going to get to Micro, and Mindset. Okay, now Mindset sounds kind of silly and it sounds basic, whatever. By Mindset, I'm saying, it's your disposition. It's the way you act. It's the way you're emotionally approaching the game. Do you think you're going to lose? Do you think you're going to win? Are you going to get upset when you lose? It's keeping your mind calm, making very good and clear decisions. Keeping focused and kind of willing your way to victory. Everyone brings up Idra and kind of how, you watch some of the games he played against Huck, the famous ones where he left to hallucinate void rays, or you look at the game versus MMA where he left after killing that huge army. Okay, it's just when you get attacked, how are you going to take it? Are you going to get all mad and rage quit? No. Are you going to, calm down, no big deal, and just try to fight your way back? Okay, it's just keeping going. You lost 2 dropships, lost your whole army. Well, just keep going for it. Just trying to do anything you can, because StarCraft very much is a mental game. And you need to make clear decisions, and you need to sort of work your way back. And from, things are going to happen that aren't going to go your way, but you sort of have to just work your way back from it. Okay? So then finally, now we get to Micro. And Micro sort of is that foil thing to Macro. And everyone's probably going to say, oh, Micro, it should go higher than this on the list. Or it should go lower. You need Micro. Micro's important. And yes, I will agree that Micro is very important. But if you look at the things below this, okay? If you look at the things below this, okay? We have economy and production, right? Your macro, okay? Now, if you don't have macro, then you're not going to have anything to Micro anyway. Okay, so those need to be below. Okay? Knowledge and scouting and army. If you don't have the right composition of units, then you're not going to be able to do anything with them. You can Micro all day. Doesn't matter. Okay, your build. If you don't open well, or if you don't really know what you're doing throughout the entire process of the game, then again, what's Micro going to do? Keeping units alive isn't really going to do much. Okay, so we're going to go control and aggression. Control, aggression, mindset. It may be able to go below that, but again, if you're not making good and clear decisions, if you're not being aggressive to even have a battle and confrontation, or trying to get map control, or trying to control the flow of the game, then you don't really need Micro. If you're just playing defensively, what's Micro going to do? You're going to Micro your units in a circle? No, not really. Okay? So, for anyone that doesn't know what Micro is, it's how you use your units. Basically, it's moving your army around, getting advanced or advantageous